Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive into some alien languages.
Sounds like fun.
We're going to be looking at this lecture by Jan Harzant.
Okay.
He's the head honcho at MUON,
Right.
a group all about the science of UFOs,
Yeah.
And get this, Harzant lays out these 4 cases of, possible alien communication.
Interesting.
And each one, oh, man, each one just gets weirder and weirder.
I'm intrigued.
So, yeah, buckle up. We're going down a rabbit hole.
Right. I'm ready.
Because this stuff, it'll bend your mind, I'm telling you.
Makes you think, what do we even know about language out there?
Right. Like, are we even asking the right questions when it comes to talking to ET?
Yeah, exactly.
But, okay, before we get too far out there, let's start with something a little more, down to earth.
Okay.
The Voynich manuscript. This
Yeah.
thing's been a puzzle for, centuries.
It's fascinating.
Imagine a book, 600 years old.
Wow.
Beautiful illustrations, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
But the language. Nobody can crack it.
I've heard about this.
For years, people thought it was a hoax.
Yeah.
Maybe cooked up by that guy, John D.
Queen Elizabeth's astrologer.
That's the one.
Uh-huh.
But then carbon dating comes along and proves it's from the early 1400s.
Oh, so much older.
Way before D was even born.
So not a hoax then.
Nope, not a hoax. But that just makes it even more of a head-scratcher.
What does? Who created this thing and what does it say?
Right. And get this. A botanist recently suggested that some of the plant illustrations in the book,
Yeah.
they might be linked to, 16th century Aztec languages.
Really?
Yeah. Wild right.
That is interesting.
And even more recently, a linguist said they deciphered some of the words
Oh, wow.
using, get this, medieval Arabic,
Okay.
Hebrew,
Uh-huh.
and even ancient Akkadian texts.
No way.
So is this some lost human language? Or is it something, else?
That's like a giant jigsaw puzzle.
Like,
with
yeah.
pieces that don't quite fit.
But maybe, just maybe, we're starting to see some of those edges line up.
Yeah, maybe.
And it raises some serious questions, right?
For sure.
Like, could this be, I don't know, some early attempt at human encryption?
Possibly.
Or could it be reflecting a worldview that we just, I don't know, we can't even grasp?
It's mind-boggling.
Totally mind-boggling.
Okay, so we've got this ancient manuscript stumping scholars for centuries.
Right.
But what about languages that are, intentionally created?
Okay, yeah.
Like Klingon from Star Trek.
Klingon.
Is that a real language?
Right. Like, how many humans does it take for a language to become, official?
It's a good question.
And it gets even weirder.
Oh.
Because Paramount Pictures.
Yeah.
They actually sued the makers of this Star Trek fan film
No way, really?
for using Klingon.
What?
Claimed it was copyright infringement.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine copyrighting a language?
That's wild.
Especially one that people actually use, for real communication.
I mean, there's that language tier, Sammy.
Yeah.
It's only spoken by, 2 people in the whole world. Does that make it less real than Klingon, which has this global community?
It really blurs the lines, doesn't it?
Totally.
Between fiction and reality.
And it gets into this whole thing about language ownership
Yeah.
and cultural
A
appropriation.
whole can of worms.
It is.
But okay, let's move on to the next case.
All right.
This one takes us from, sci-fi
Huh?
to the world of, possible alien tech.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting.
It does.
Tell me more.
The Current Enigma.
Okay.
Imagine this shadowy lab
Right.
working with, get this, recovered alien technology
Wow.
and a language so powerful
Yeah.
that it can supposedly execute itself.
What, like a self-activating software?
That's the idea.
That's straight out of the X-Files.
I know, right?
It's like, remember all that talk about alien tech trickling into the commercial sector?
Oh, yeah, for years.
Like fiber optics, transistors.
Things that changed everything.
Exactly.
So is it really that far-fetched to think that a place like Koret might be working on something even more groundbreaking?
I see where you're going with this.
And then there are these leaked documents,
Oh, from Corette. I
supposedly.
mean, what do they say?
They show this device
Okay.
covered in these bizarre symbols, and people are saying
Yeah.
that these symbols are a language
Right.
that can, interact with specific fields
What do you mean?
to do things,
Yeah.
create holographic projections,
Oh,
maybe even invisibility.
Oh,
It might sound crazy,
it does.
but it kind of reminds me of, ancient cultures and their beliefs in the power of sigils,
Right.
incantations,
How come
all these symbolic ways of trying to influence reality.
Yeah, I see the connection.
Maybe alien languages work on a similar principle.
Just on a scale we can't even fathom.
Exactly. And then there's this whole Alienware thing.
Alienware, the computer company.
The one and only.
What about them?
Their founder is a total UFO enthusiast.
Really?
Big time. And right after those Carrot documents leaked,
Okay.
Alienware, they come out with their own alien language.
Hold on.
And get this, they admitted to using some of those Carrot symbols in a marketing campaign.
So was it all just a big marketing stunt?
Or did they stumble onto something real?
It's hard to say.
It really is.
It blurs the lines, that's for sure.
Totally blurs the lines.
Between science fiction and reality.
Makes you question everything, you know?
It really does.
Okay, so we've got ancient manuscripts, made-up languages, possible alien tech.
Right.
Now let's look at a case that goes into, like, psychic phenomena.
Oh, okay.
Helen Smith.
I've heard that name.
This Swiss medium who claims she visited Mars.
Wow.
And even wrote in its language.
Seriously?
Yeah, but a lot of people call her a fraud.
That's often the case with these kinds of claims.
Right. It's tough to separate fact from fiction.
But there's that psychologist, Theodore Flournoy.
Yeah.
He spent 5 years studying her.
Can you imagine? 5 years.
Yeah.
Just observing, documenting.
Trying to figure out if she was the real deal.
And she didn't just talk about Martians.
Oh. What else?
She also believed she was the reincarnation of Marie Antoinette.
No way.
A Hindu princess.
Wow.
And could channel, like, a famous alchemist.
This woman was something else.
Right.
But it's her Martian writing and paintings that really stand out, don't they?
They do.
They have this eerie resemblance to Chinese art.
Yeah.
And even some of the illustrations in the Voynich manuscript.
It's almost like there's a connection there.
It's uncanny.
It really is.
So what did Flournoy conclude after all that time?
Well, he eventually said that her Martian language was a subconscious creation mimicking French grammar.
Interesting.
But here's the thing. Recent discoveries from NASA photos.
Yeah.
They've shown these potential structures on Mars.
Wait, really?
And even, like, creatures.
You're kidding?
So just maybe Smith was onto something.
Maybe she was tapping into something real.
Even if it wasn't exactly what she thought it was.
It makes you question everything.
It really does.
It seems like every case we look at just leads to more questions.
It does, doesn't it?
It's a rabbit hole of possibilities.
A cosmic rabbit hole.
Exactly. It is a rabbit hole, isn't it? Makes you wonder if there's something to this whole subconscious tapping into something real.
Right. It's like, how do we even approach these kinds of claims?
It's a tricky balance, you know?
Yeah.
We need that rigorous analysis, but also got to keep an open mind, you know, with all this extraordinary stuff.
Totally. But, okay, if we want to, like, actually crack the code of these potential alien languages, we need examples to study, right?
Of course.
But where do we even start?
Well, Herzant actually suggests this pretty fascinating approach.
Right.
He calls it building a Rosetta Stone for alien languages.
A Rosetta Stone?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm listening.
By comparing different types of sources, you know.
So, like, what kinds of sources?
Well, he uses this three-pronged approach. First, he looks at any physical artifacts that might have alien writing on them.
Okay.
Like those symbols on that carrot device we were talking about.
Right.
Then he dives into what he calls contactee recollections.
Contactee recollections?
Yeah, basically accounts from people who claim to have interacted with extraterrestrials.
Oh, okay.
And might remember details about their language.
So, like, Helen Smith's Martian writings.
Exactly. Yeah. Even though, you know, those were considered to be subconscious creations in the end.
Right.
And then the third piece of the puzzle, and this is where it gets a bit more controversial, he looks at what are called channeled languages.
Channeled languages, like what, automatic writing and stuff?
Yeah, things like that. Automatic writing, trans-channeling, even messages received in dreams.
Okay, that's getting pretty far out there.
It is. It is definitely the most fringe category, but Herzant believes it shouldn't be dismissed entirely.
So he's basically casting a wide net, right?
Exactly. Looking for any potential clues, no matter how strange or unconventional they might seem.
And by comparing all these different sources, he's hoping to find some patterns.
Exactly. Commonalities that could point to, you know, genuine alien communication.
It's like detective work, but on a cosmic scale.
Exactly.
So how does this Rosetta Stone thing actually work in practice? Got an example?
Sure. Let's take a look at that dot and line style of alien writing we touched on earlier.
Okay.
Dr. Mario Pesagini, he studied alien writing,
Yeah.
He identified this dot and line style as one of 3 main types.
Okay.
Now, using Harzant's method, we can look for examples of this dot and line writing across different sources.
I'm following you.
So, for instance, there was this guy, John Reeves.
Okay.
Back in 1965, he claimed that an alien letter literally dropped out of a spacecraft in Florida.
Wait, an air-mailed letter from E.T.?
Seriously? I know, right? Sounds crazy. But Reeves reported the incident, even turned the letter over to the military.
Oh, wow.
Had trouble getting it back, though.
Really?
He did eventually get something back, looked similar, but who knows if it was the original.
Wow.
And the interesting thing is, the writing on this letter, it seems to resemble those old Norse Futhark runes.
Interesting. So that's one data point for dot and line writing. In the physical artifact category, what about those contactee recollections?
Yeah, well, there's Antonio Villas Boas, Brazilian farmer, claimed to have been abducted in 1957.
Okay.
He reported seeing dot and line writing above a doorway inside the spacecraft. And Betty Hill, remember her?
From the Betty and Barney Hill abduction.
That's the one. She also recalled seeing this style of writing in a book while she was onboarding the craft.
So we're starting to see a pattern here.
Right, across very different abduction accounts.
Makes you think it's more than just a coincidence.
Exactly. And then in the channeled language category,
we
have Mavis Burrows.
Who's that?
British midwife. Back in 1982, she experienced this sudden download of information, which she expressed through these 14 canvases covered in circles, pyramids, and, you guessed it, dot and line writing.
So we've got alleged physical evidence, contactee accounts, and even channeled messages, all with similar writing styles.
It does seem to be more than just random scribbles, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
We might not have a complete Rosetta Stone yet, but these clues, man, they're tantalizing.
They are. It's like, maybe there's something much bigger going on here.
Maybe there is.
I like Harzant's approach. He's taking all these seemingly unrelated pieces,
Yeah.
and trying to fit them together, trying to get a clearer picture.
Like a giant cosmic jigsaw puzzle.
Exactly.
He's not afraid to look at unconventional sources, ideas that most scientists would just dismiss.
Right.
But sometimes those are the ideas that lead to the biggest breakthroughs.
Speaking of unconventional ideas,
yeah,
that story Harzant told about his daughter and the sleep-talking incident.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of creepy, but also makes you think.
It does, doesn't it?
Especially when you connect it to those charisms, those, supernatural gifts or abilities.
Right, and remember, he discovered that even the Vatican has a term for psychics who work with charism.
They call them charismatics, right?
Okay.
So how does all this tie into Harzant's daughter?
Well, years before Harzant ever saw a UFO himself, his daughter, she was just a kid at the time.
Yeah.
She sat bolt upright in bed one night, eyes wide open, and said, "Forget about the Greys. I don't know what you humans mean by Greys anyway."
That's so creepy.
Yeah.
But she was just a kid. Did she even know what Greys were?
That's the thing. Harzant had never talked to her about UFOs or aliens or anything like that.
Oh, man.
And when he asked her about Greys the next day, she only associated it with, Thanksgiving gravy or a graceful ballerina. But then she described this vivid dream about being abducted by aliens in a spaceship.
Hold on. So Harzant's daughter has this weird dream about being abducted. And then a few years later, Harzant himself sees a UFO. That's a crazy coincidence.
It is. It is. But here's what's even more interesting. The day before their trip, Harzant was actually researching charisms.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. He just interviewed the Vatican's top exorcist.
Whoa.
And he discovered that grace is considered a charism, a supernatural gift.
Okay, now that's really interesting. So is it possible that his daughter's sleep-talking, the whole Greys thing, was it like some subconscious bleed-through from Harzant's own research into charisms and the paranormal?
It's a fascinating possibility, isn't it?
It is.
Suggests that there might be this connection between UFO phenomena, psychic abilities, and even religious experiences, all operating on this level we just don't fully understand.
It makes you wonder how much of this is happening all around us all the time. Events we can't explain, things that are just beyond our current understanding. But okay, back to Harzant's UFO sighting. I mean, the orange lights, the boomerang-shaped craft, that orb that detaches and then reattaches.
It's wild.
It sounds like something straight out of a Spielberg movie.
And just like in those movies, nobody else seems to notice.
Right.
Busy highway, crowded mall nearby, but no other reports of anything unusual that night.
It's as if it was, like, cloaked or something.
Yeah, hidden from public view.
Okay, now we're getting into some serious X-Files territory. It's kind of unsettling, but also exciting.
Right, but the details Harzant describes, they're so specific, so vivid, it's hard to just brush it off as him making it up.
So what are we left with?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Are there things happening around us all the time?
Yeah.
Things that are simply beyond our current understanding.
Things we're just not equipped to perceive. Things we just aren't equipped to perceive, you know? It's a humbling thought.
It is. It is. We think we have a handle on things.
Right.
And then, boom, you hit these cases and you realize, oh, man, there's so much we just don't know.
It's like we're trying to solve this super complex equation.
Yeah.
But we're stuck with, like, basic arithmetic.
We need a whole new set of tools.
Exactly.
A new way of thinking just to wrap our heads around it.
What if it's not about decoding words at all?
Right.
What if it's about understanding, I don't know, concept?
Emotions.
Yeah.
Pure energy, even.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is.
It makes you question everything.
It does. That's what makes this whole field so exciting.
Yeah.
It pushes us to expand our definition of language.
Right.
To think about things that seem like sci-fi, but could be more real than we think.
So where do we even go from here?
Good question.
How do we approach something so vast, so unknown?
Well, I think Harzant's lecture gives us some clues. He's telling us to be more open-minded.
Yeah.
To look at those unconventional sources, those things most people would dismiss.
Right.
And look for the connections, the subtle things that hint at a deeper truth.
It's like he's saying, don't be afraid to go down the rabbit hole.
Exactly. Embrace that curiosity.
Yeah.
Question everything you think you know. And remember, the biggest discoveries, they often come from the most unexpected places.
And maybe, just maybe, the key to our future, to understanding where we fit in this whole crazy cosmos.
Yeah.
It's in deciphering the language of the stars.
It's a huge task.
It is.
But man, it's exciting.
It really is. So for someone listening to all this, what can they do? How can we connect with this sense of wonder?
I think the most important thing is to stay curious.
Keep asking questions.
Exactly.
Keep exploring.
Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Because the universe is full of mysteries.
It is.
Just waiting to be uncovered.
And the journey, you know? The journey's just as important as the destination.
It's like that saying, the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing.
Right. The more we learn,
the
more we realize how much we don't know.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It is. Keeps us moving forward.
Keeps us learning.
Keeps us growing.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll crack those alien languages.
Imagine that.
And unlock a whole new understanding of the universe.
It'd be incredible.
This has been, wow, an incredible deep dive.
It has.
So many twists and turns, so many things to think about.
Makes you look at things differently.
It really does. It's changed how I think about communication, about reality, everything.
Glad to hear it. That's what we aim for with these deep dives.
Spark that curiosity.
Exactly.
Challenge those assumptions.
And encourage everyone to explore the unknown.
Well said. On that note, we'll leave you to ponder all the possibilities.
Keep those minds open.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of potential alien languages.
Until next time.
Keep exploring.
And keep questioning.